All right, buddy, we're recording. How's it going, Rob?
Good, buddy. You?
Good. Okay, so Digital Academy, I invited my buddy Rock on to talk some Raptors as we get ready for the season re-kick. Um, Here, buddy, I'm going to share this with you. Okay, so can you see the PowerPoint now?
I can see it. Yeah. Feels good to be talking Raptors again.
Oh man, doesn't it? This has been a long layoff. Okay, so let's get straight back in. So as we restart this season, okay, so let's check with this, buddy. I tried to make this as PTI as I could, so as part of the interruption style. So our first matchup, Raps versus Lakers. What do you think about that? That's an intense first game.
It'll be an interesting matchup for sure. With the emotions will be running high for both teams, so it'll be a good litmus test in some ways. But I really don't think the first games of the I really critical that the first few games actually won't matter, and I actually believe the Raptors' depth in this scenario will help them in these early games big time.
Yeah, I think you would pick the Lakers over almost anybody, but if there's a team that's going to beat the Lakers in
Yeah,
this kind of setting, I could see it being the Raptors because they're going to be in shape, they're going to be ready, they're going to have depth.
exactly.
Okay, so that's but yeah, what a game of the block. Followed up by the Heat. What do you think about that?
Certainly interesting game. The Raptors haven't had a lot of luck versus the Heat this year, so this is a team that they could see in the playoffs, and this is more of a tone setter for them. Like the winner and the loss, maybe
Agreed.
not be as critical as it is to just send a message in this one.
We have to be a team that's better than the Heat.
Yeah.
They're a good team, but if we're gonna do anything, we have to be better than the Heat.
Oh, for sure. And we are
Um,
better than the Heat. It's just been an awkward matchup for whatever reason.
yeah, man. And then this comes to our third one, which is a potential rematch of the first round of the series and potentially a first round opponent, depending how we'll get to standings in a sec, but
Mhm.
theoretically, at least we could play Orlando.
Yeah, I feel like the opposite of the Heat in that they're magic, and they don't even come close talent-wise in my mind to competing with the Raptors. So this is probably the easiest game of their 8-game schedule, in my opinion.
Okay, so if I had make you pick, okay, so Lakers, Raptors,
Oh
win or
man.
loss.
Well, I want to take the Raptors on every game, so it's not going to be a. But impartially, the Lakers are a challenging team, but I'm taking the Raptors again.
Yeah, so the Lakers is the strongest of those for sure. Here comes another epic game though, the Celtics.
This is the most important game of all 8, 100% for sure. With the Raptors coming into this last 8 games with a 3-game lead, Boston holds the advantage 2-1 in the season series. So if Boston takes this game, they not only close the gap, but they seal the deal on the tiebreaker if they do end up the tie.
Mm,
And the Raptors do need to send a message here. And I do think second seed, because it just helps you. It's the difference between Orlando or the Nets in the first round or the 76ers, which is a pretty significant difference. So to me, that game is the be all and end all. If the Raptors win that one, they lose second seed.
hmm. We should maybe see if we can. Yeah, that's going to be an interesting game, man.
Yeah, big time.
I was going to say we should watch it together, but we'll see. Actually just got a projector, so if we could run a cable cord
Well,
outside, have a big. Okay, next we got Memphis. I actually love Memphis, man. I like that team.
agreed. Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know how much to dive into each game specifically, but I think they're a fun young team with Morant on the rise, and we'll see where everyone's at this point. They'll be fighting for their lives, and the Raptors, having won their previous 4 games here, may start to go on cruise control a bit.
Yep, you might hit Memphis when they're fighting, like you just said, fighting for their lives because they're in that dogfight in the West,
Yeah.
for that last seed. Then we got Milwaukee. Do you think by here do you think everyone's playing in this game? And
If the Raptors lose to Boston, we could be in a dogfight right here. If they beat Boston, I believe that they'll have second seed locked up, and Nick Nurse won't be showing anything in this game. It'll
yeah,
be about conditioning only.
Yeah, because we're aiming at Milwaukee deeper.
Yeah.
So then we get Philly. I thought that was Phoenix. Yeah, Philly. That should be. What do you think?
There's your. I mean, if we slept a 3 seed, there's your first round matchup. So,
Man, that really hammers home like the difference between Orlando or Philly as a first
oh
round
yeah,
matchup.
oh yeah,
Like that could be. Oh man, that's majorly dramatic. And then
yeah,
Denver.
yeah, yeah. We'll see with Denver. I don't. Again, they're a good team, great team, good warm up team. They like to run the floor, and it's going to be all about cardio at this point.
So the question I wanted to ask you, one thing I was thinking of asking you is, what are you looking for in these 8 games? Because obviously record's not the only thing.
Yeah.
What do you hope? What would you see in these 8 games that would make you the most confident heading towards the start of playoffs?
Well, for me, what's gonna be critical is the Raptors' depth is gonna give them advantage over almost all of these teams because
Yeah, man.
conditioning is gonna be a huge question mark. And then I think we're gonna touch on in the COVID environment, which is no fans. I really believe the teams that are going to be successful are the ones with veteran leadership and those that can motivate themselves personally and as a team have strong motivators. And so for me, that's really what I'm looking for is those that don't need the crowd to be behind you, whether that's cheering or whether that's booing, because there's lots of fans that are players that get fired up when they're being.
Yeah,
Neither
definitely.
of those environments are going to exist. So for me, what I want to see is conditioning. I want to see the starters get in good shape, and you want to see the depth used. But it's really the top 5 and the top 7 rotation that you need to see starting to fire on all cylinders. And for a team like the Raptors, you want to see Norman Powell back where he was by the time you're in Game 6 and Game 7, and because those are the guys you're going to need to make a strong playoff push.
Yeah, man. If you got the time, I actually kind of want to go through everyone.
Yeah,
Okay, so I'm gonna keep coming back to like the presentation as we go. I think it's just a little bit smoother when we're not in it. Okay, so in terms of Eastern Conference standings, this is kind of what you were saying before, eh? Is like we really don't want to slip to 3 and play Philly in 6. Oh my
yeah,
God, that is
yeah.
a
I mean,
rough first round.
Philly's right there with Indiana and like I still think like the drop off, the risk of Philly or Miami in the first round versus a Brooklyn or Orlando. And to be fair, both of those teams are up and coming, but they're not in that category.
Well, especially since obviously Brooklyn doesn't have Kyrie or Durant, and
Uh,
Wilson Chandler now isn't playing. Like they're missing tons of people.
yeah,
Sorry,
exactly.
what were you saying there? So like Philly, even Indiana, like that's significantly better than
Yeah.
Orlando.
If the Raptors can get 2 out of their first 4, and one of those 2 is the Boston game, they're locked into the 2 seed. Like that's
Mm,
really best case scenario because in the next 4 games, Nick with wins and losses being irrelevant, basically. He can
yep.
run guys for conditioning, run plays through guys to get them back in the groove. Like then he can just tinker with individuals.
Yeah, and I think anything that gets weird, we have an advantage because I think Nick Nurse can go
Yeah.
so many ways, and also with the athleticism and the diversity of talents on the team, like we can play so many types. I agree with you, and I think also like the defense too. What do you think about this? Maybe we'll go to this next one. I was going to ask you about Marc Gasol, anyways. The reports that he's really slimmed down and he's like might be a major difference maker. So on that note, though, this is just like the statement that came out on March 11th or whenever. That seems like so long ago
Yeah.
that the last basketball was. So I wanted to ask you about kind of Raptor specific layoff considerations. Like, who do you think on our team this maybe helped? Do you think how we, if you kind of put everything else aside, just how do the Raptors fare to respond to this, do you think, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, it's all a guess for all of us at this point in time, for sure. I mean, the Raptors, they have a lot to lose from this layoff too. Let's not forget they were having like a season to dream of in many ways. You know, like they
Yep.
were rocking and rolling, and Boucher running, and like What a
Oh,
great
I
season.
love the team this year,
Oh
man.
man, it's such a fun team to watch. Like, you're partial, but because it felt like there was a little bit of magic sprinkled in with this season as it was going. But Norman Powell and Gasol, I think, are the two players on the Raptors
Mhm.
specifically that look to benefit most because they both had kind of nagging injuries. I mean, everyone on the team at that point in the season has some nagging injuries, but this is true of almost every roster spot on across the league now. Is unless they had season-ending injuries, every team is going to be the healthiest they've been for a while, which is
Mhm.
pretty awesome.
That
The
is
big
cool.
the big question, I guess, benefit is I think they've got a bit of an axe to grind with how disrespected they've been, even during this lockout. Let's be honest, in terms of who has a real chance to win this thing this year. When they are the reigning champs, you don't hear them talked about at all.
Man, if you hear the sports guys on the major shows go off of one of the two LA teams for more than 5 minutes, it's like a miracle,
Yeah.
man. It's
Yeah.
like it's not guaranteed going to be an LA team that wins.
Well, and it's Milwaukee and Boston that get all the love in the East too.
Yeah.
It's like they're forgetting the Raps are the champs and the second seed right now. So
Man, I think we're a tough out for anybody.
I think that's already been proven and will be proven again. So, for sure. So I said it earlier. I think the mature teams, and I think the Raptors are one of them. They've got an axe to grind. They've got veteran leadership in Kyle Lowry. They've got experience all the way through when it's going to take. And so the question mark comes down to a lot of those other teams where I think the Raptors will be good and have stayed focused during this. Like for NBA players, don't forget they're regular humans like us, and they've had 3 months off with all of their kids home from school, with all of
Yeah.
these weird things, no access to coaches and exercise facilities like they're used to, world class facilities. They don't have. They've been doing home workouts with elastic bands like the rest.
Hmm.
Who really grinded, who let it fall off, who, and my sense is the Raptors team probably isn't one of those teams
Hmm.
because their culture is so strong.
Yeah. Do you think that having, especially if you look deeper on our bench, having so many quality younger guys, do you think that, like, how do
Yeah,
you think age affects it? But then also having guys like Gasol and Lowry that are kind of vets, that's also a
exactly.
huge advantage too.
Saul Lowry, Ibaka, the tone, and our youth in Siakam and Van Vliet and Powell, like these guys they're experienced NBA veterans even at a young age to go through what they went through last year and overcome every single odd that they faced. Like I think the Raptors are probably as well positioned with the flexibility of Nurse as a coach, like you mentioned. They're as well positioned as any team to come out of this thing and be flexible and do damage.
Man, imagine if we back to backed. Oh man, it's almost too good to be true, right?
Oh yeah, oh
Oh
yeah,
man, I just can't wait. I can't wait for the setup. Like even others, like even MLS, like soccer's coming back. They're doing like a World Cup kind of thing. Like
yeah,
sports are just about to turn back on.
yeah. Hopefully,
Um,
I mean, I'm still
hope,
nervous about the test
hopefully,
results and everything rolling in for different leagues and how they manage that, but we'll see.
yeah. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Okay, on that point, I wanted to talk a little bit about this idea of no home court. And do you
Mm.
think that like the Jurassic Park has been such a big part of all of like at least our experience of it? Do you think it's like obviously we're going to be watching this on our like
Yeah.
flat screens, and what do you think it's going to be different though for the players?
Well, I talked about it a little bit earlier. The Raptors may be the most impacted team by this. They have a home court advantage in the Scotiabank Arena and home in Toronto and Jurassic Park, like most other teams could only dream of. So,
Hmm.
I, I mean, I'll speak out of both sides of my mouth in that I think they're as good as anyone in terms of their ability to motivate themselves because they are such a unified unit and they fight for each other and they play for their coach. So I think those are the ingredients to success in this environment. But I also think at the same losing home court here.
Yeah, yeah, and it's oh man, some of the it's going to be interesting as a fan too.
Yeah.
But
Well, somehow there's something in the gut of me that tells me that somehow Canadians figure out a way to make it known that we are still the best NBA fan base. And I don't know if that's like a bunch of snowbirds creating their own Jurassic Park 6 feet apart from each other outside of wherever they're playing in Orlando or what, but like something tells me Canadians, like fans, will be the talk of the fan base down there when it.
Yeah. So who do you think will be at? Was thinking this the other day. Who do you think will be at the games? Do you think it'll be the players on other teams, basically?
That's the only. It's
Like summer league, kind of.
family, and then players from other teams are the only groups allowed.
It's kind of cool in a way. Like,
Yeah, it is. It'd be
man.
super cool to see like the Raptors go check out like a Clippers Lakers playoff game or something. Watch the
Yeah.
whole team go check out a game together or something.
Well, it's
Like
almost like a tournament when we were kids playing
Yeah.
sports, and it's like the only people in the stands are like family and friends, and
Exactly. They have to stay isolated, so like they have nothing else to do, so they might as well go check out some games, right?
yeah, man, that's pretty cool.
It's pretty neat.
So then, what else did I have here? Sorry, one sec. Yeah, so when we look at our guys here, so I got this off their website. So the 3 guys with the triangles aren't on the team anymore.
Yeah.
Robertson and Taylor. But of these guys, so all yeah, man, who do when we comes down to the pinch and we're in kind of like our top 9 guys, who would you say those are going into your like the obvious ones? Okay, so obviously it's like Pascal, Gasol, Lowry, Powell, OG, or maybe not Powell, OG, who am I forgetting, man?
Ibaka.
Van Vliet, Ibaka.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the kind of classic 7. Oh,
Yeah,
OG.
you got OG and Terrence Davis. Or
Terrence Davis, man.
9, right? That's
Terrence,
what I mean. The depth
Ronde.
on the squad. Yeah.
Squad.
We haven't played in 3 months. It's easy to forget how ridiculously deep this team is.
Oh man, I could see. So in this format, are we allowed to bring 15 guys or 17? Do you know?
I think it's 15 still.
So could like O'Shea, Brissett,
only 12 active roster game day.
Okay, 12 active. Yeah, and Nick Nurse is going to play McCaw too.
Yeah. And even Matt Thomas has a story to tell in one game somewhere, upcoming schedule in the playoffs or whatever too. So
yeah, he's almost the most likely to come out of absolutely nowhere and steal a game.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, come in and hit 4 threes in like a 5-minute span.
One in the third quarter and swings a game or something, right? Like that's the thing with this Raptors squad is you can have 4 guys having off nights, but you're going to have another 4 with on nights, which makes us tough to beat on any given night ever. Like you're never blowing out this Raptors squad. If you're going to beat us, you're going to scrape by us.
Yeah, man.
And I think that's true. Like I don't think anyone like.
That's all I ask for as a fan, man. That's all I ask for. All I want my team to do is to put up a fight in the playoffs. If the Raptors just put up a fight in the playoffs every year, like that's the dream, man.
Yeah. The only question mark to me is the last 5 minutes of the fourth quarter. Like last year, we just threw the ball to Kawhi and got out of the way, and he got the job done more often than not. So, can they find a rhythm and a confidence level and a guy that is the guy? Be some consistency so that the team is just settled into who that guy is. And I mean, from my perspective, it's going to have to be a Siakam or Norm Powell are my choices. I think they're both better than Lowry in that regard, but
Norm Powell.
We'll see. Yeah.
So you think Powell, you're thinking Powell is on the verge of potentially having a massive playoff breakout?
I think to me, Powell is probably the best one-on-one perimeter player we have offensive. I think
it's easy to forget how good he's been.
His shot.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, hit between him and Freddie. I mean, you got to put Freddie in there too. But again, I'm thinking last second, everyone's running at the ball. You need a guy that's 6'6", 6'7", taking that shot. And Powell's got the ball handling skills and the ability to hit any shot on the floor and beat a guy off a dribble, whereas other guys don't have all those tools in their toolbox. So.
Yeah, definitely. And we definitely need Siakam to be Siakam.
Yeah.
And we need Ibaka to just be, himself. If Gasol can get out there and really add the IQ, and apparently he's really, I don't know. Yeah. Gasol could be a difference maker too. Like if we got production out of Gasol and Powell, all of
Oh
a
yeah,
sudden this is a different world, man.
yeah.
Because Lowry's going to be Lowry. Siakam's going to do his thing. Ibaka's going to give us huge defense and be incredibly good at those long twos for some reason.
Oh yeah,
So this is gonna be fun, man.
yeah. It's
So,
good.
anyways, man. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, can Freddie catch fire? Can Norm stay consistent? Like if we answer a couple of those questions, can OG be a lockdown defender on the other team's best perimeter player? Like
That's huge. That is
if the
so
answer to
huge.
those things are yes, the Raptors are going to win the championship again. Like
Yeah, man. Because that's gonna come. Okay, so the first time. Okay, so say if we get what's it look like now? Probably Brooklyn, right? So if we get Brooklyn first round, say we assume we beat Brooklyn, then we're probably playing like one
then we're
of the
probably at
Miami,
Boston.
Boston.
We're
Yeah,
at Boston probably, yeah.
that's
And
gonna be a
I mean,
bloodbath.
Boston and Milwaukee are obviously the two toughest teams in the East outside of the Raptors. So someone's got to lock down Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum, and you put Siakam on one of those guys for a bit and throw him off with length, and then otherwise it's OG and like Powell and Van Vliet. Like we know these guys can dig in, and the
Yep.
unit, the sum of the parts is greater than the or whatever the saying is. Like this
Yeah,
unit
man.
moves in unison. So
Yeah, and there's no weak defenders. In that starting like 9 or 10 best guys, like almost all of them are plus defenders. And that's
exactly,
so
bring in Rondé
huge.
Hollis Jefferson off the bench for a change
We
of
haven't
pace.
even
Get
I
him
don't even
some
think we've
pace.
mentioned him, man.
No, I know.
And I love Rondé. Rondé's another swing guy.
Yeah,
He could all of a sudden come into a game and like I was gonna bring up and shut a guy down. I was gonna bring up that O'Shea Brissett too. Because
yeah.
early in the season we had a really interesting game against the Celtics. And it kind of gets lost in the shuffle, but he shut down Tatum huge
Oh
in
yeah,
that game. And he had a
yeah.
huge game, and I would almost say, won us that game. And it's like we got a bunch of guys that could do something like that.
Totally,
Chris Boucher could come in and get 3 or 4 huge blocks
exactly.
late third quarter, a couple Matt Thomas threes.
I
And
know,
those
man.
guys aren't even in our top 10,
I know.
right? So this team is, man, this team is, I think, ready for this kind of
We can
tournament almost. This is
adapt to
almost a tournament.
whatever we can adapt to whatever any other team wants to throw at us, and Nick Nurse isn't afraid to use every tool he's got in his box, which gives us a chance to win all the time.
Yep.
You
Yeah,
know,
in a crazy scenario, you want somebody that's able to bring a bit of order in the chaos and kind of go with the flow and ride what's hot and adapt when the thing that I love about Nurse, and we've talked about this obviously before, is like, especially in contrast with Casey, who I also loved as a person, but he would sometimes make his adjustments between games,
yeah,
right?
100%.
Where Nurse does it quicker. Sorry, go
I
ahead.
don't even think that's a knock on Casey. I think that's true of most coaches. I think most
Mm,
coaches stick with their game plan. They watch the tape afterwards and tweak from there. Whereas Nurse has an innate ability to see the game in real time and make
yeah,
it
man.
it's like moment to moment. And it's incredible to watch, honestly.
What a joy these last 2 years have been, man. These
Yeah.
have these have been good years to be Raps fans. All right, man. I'm gonna wrap it up. Stay on. I'll just like say a thing here, and then thanks for watching, guys. And yeah, my buddy. I don't have a good ending here, but my buddy Rob will be back. Maybe we can come in after the first Laker game and
Yeah,
do
yeah.
another one, man. It'll be
Absolutely.
good to be back. Yeah, I'll chat with you in a sec. Thanks, guys, for
No problem.
watching, and